Think about this. What if I told you that a company spent over $1 billion on marketing, and most of the world was convinced it was going to change the future, yet it completely bombed? Not because the idea was bad, not because the product had no potential, but because the entire marketing strategy was a mirage, a brilliant illusion that fooled everyone, from investors to everyday consumers. This is the story of a massive marketing spend, hype that outpaced reality, and a collapse so dramatic it reshaped how companies launch products forever. Imagine a world where the biggest names in Hollywood and Silicon Valley band together to launch a brand new entertainment platform, not a streaming app like Netflix or Hulu, but something built specifically for the mobile generation. A platform promising short-form, cinematic content made for phones. A place where every show is bite-sized, exclusive, and premium. That platform was Quibi, launched in 2020 with unprecedented fanfare. Backed by heavyweights like Jeffrey Katzenberg and Meg Whitman, Quibi didn't just enter the streaming wars, it dove in with a splash heard around the world. The company raised about $175 billion in total funding before it even launched, and a huge chunk of that was funneled into advertising and promotional blitzes designed to convince the world this was the next evolution of digital entertainment. Investors weren't just interested, they were ecstatic. Talent was lining up. Brands were talking about advertising on the platform. The narrative was set. Quibi was going to flip media consumption upside down. But then something strange happened. Back in early 2020, as Quibi prepared for launch, something remarkable took shape. Billboards popped up in major cities around the world. TV spots aired during peak hours. Celebrities appeared in promotional pieces. Ads blasted across social media. The message was clear. This wasn't just another streaming service, it was the future of storytelling, and the public bought into it. You couldn't scroll through Twitter or Instagram without seeing a Quibi ad. It was everywhere, slick, polished, energetic, short videos, flashy taglines, buzzwords like mobile first, quick bites, exclusive series, plastered across every screen. People started to believe it before anyone had actually seen it. This wasn't accidental. It was engineered. Quibi's leadership spent massively to shape public perception, to create so much anticipation that by the time the app launched, people felt like it was already a success. But here's the twist, that hype didn't translate into real engagement. Quibi launched in April 2020 with all the bells and whistles. It had A-list talent producing short episodic content. It had a huge war chest. It had one of the most expensive marketing campaigns of any digital product in recent memory. Yet from week one, something was off. Subscribers didn't stick around. People downloaded the app once, maybe twice, then abandoned it. User engagement metrics lagged far behind expectations. Critics questioned the very premise. Why would anyone pay for short clips when TikTok and YouTube already offered free, endless, user-generated content? Investors, meanwhile, were looking at subscriber numbers and scratching their heads. In less than 6 months after launch, Quibi announced it was shutting down and returning capital to investors. A cool one knowing, $75 billion product, built, marketed, and launched like a blockbuster, died on arrival. The company folded, and all that marketing hype was left as a cautionary tale. Why the billion-dollar hype did not work? When we peel back this story, something counterintuitive emerges. It wasn't that Quibi's marketing was bad. It was that the marketing convinced everyone it was better than it actually was. Let's break down what happened. 1. They sold a vision the product didn't deliver. Marketing made Quibi look like something revolutionary, a platform that would reinvent entertainment just for you, the mobile user. But the reality was much simpler. It was short video content, and at the time, people already had platforms delivering the same thing for free, and with social interaction and community, something Quibi lacked. The public paid attention because they felt they were seeing the birth of something new. But what they got was something familiar dressed up like innovation. This is a common trap in marketing, selling the future before the fundamentals exist. 2. Teaming collided with user habits. Quibi launched during a time when people were at home, glued to screens due to the global pandemic. You'd think that would be perfect timing, but it turned out to be terrible timing. With people gravitating toward established platforms like YouTube, Netflix, and TikTok for free entertainment, Quibi was asking consumers to pay for something they could already get elsewhere without a subscription. Consumers didn't reject the content because it was low quality, they simply didn't need another subscription for it. 3. Hype doesn't equal engagement. Here's the real lesson. You can spend $1 billion creating hype, but that doesn't guarantee people will use your product once the hype dies down. Every billboard and ad gets someone's attention for a few seconds, but only a product that truly resonates with users keeps them coming back. Quibi's marketing told the world to expect a revolution. But when the interface, content format, and user experience didn't match that expectation, people simply moved on. What this tells us about modern marketing, Quibi's failure wasn't due to a lack of money. It wasn't even due to a lack of talent. It came down to a mismatch between marketing promise and user reality. In marketing terms, this is sometimes called overclaiming, when your messaging sets expectations above what you can deliver, and when expectations are that high, reality can't help but disappoint. Imagine this: you tell the world you've built the next generation of TV. You show sleek trailers, press releases, celebrity endorsements, and captivating commercials. But when people actually use your product, they don't find what they were promised. That's what happened here. Other companies that have fallen into the hype trap. Quibi isn't the only example where marketing outpaced substance, and the fallout provides valuable lessons for any entrepreneur, marketer, or creative person watching this. Big film launches that didn't deliver. Hollywood studios often spend more on marketing a movie than they do on producing it. Blockbusters sometimes cost hundreds of millions to promote, billboards, trailers, partnerships, cross-promotions, only to have box office returns fall short. This teaches us that no matter how loud you shout, if the offer doesn't connect with the audience, the returns won't justify the spend. Marketing can build awareness, but it doesn't guarantee affinity. Product launches with major backlash. There have been dozens of products that launched with massive marketing budgets and backfired because the message was off, or the product didn't resonate culturally or functionally with its audience. The pattern is always the same: hype generated expectations. Expectations weren't met and the brand paid the price. In Quibi's case, it wasn't even backlash, it was indifference, a far more subtle and dangerous reaction. People didn't hate Quibi, they just forgot it existed. So what was the $2 billion marketing trick? You might be wondering, I thought this was about a specific $2 billion trick. Here's where the nuance comes in. Quibi didn't technically announce that they were spending $2 billion on marketing. They never published that budget publicly, but industry analysts estimated that a huge percentage of the capital raised, somewhere in the ballpark of over $1 billion, was spent on marketing, promotions, talent deals, content partnerships, and positioning campaigns designed to sell a narrative more than a product. That narrative, the illusion of instant relevance and future dominance, is what fooled everyone: investors, media, consumers, advertisers. And that's what makes this story so fascinating. It wasn't that people didn't want Quibi to succeed. It was that everyone believed it was going to succeed because marketing told them so. And worse, even though consumers didn't adopt the platform long term. The marketing succeeded in making the failure one of the most talked about tech stories of the decade. In other words, the marketing worked, just not in the way anyone expected. What companies learned, and what you should learn. So what's the takeaway here? If you're watching this as a creator, as an entrepreneur, as someone in business, there's a powerful lesson in this story. Marketing should amplify reality, not replace it. Spending big money does not solve fundamental problems. You can buy attention, but you can't buy real user engagement. Here's what companies, especially startups, should take away from this. Build something people actually need before selling it. Let your product speak for itself, not just your ads. Match your promise to your delivery. Test with real users before scaling your spend. Don't let hype blind you to reality. Quibi's story could have ended differently if they had focused more on product market fit than on glossy commercials and massive buzz. And here's a twist that will blow your mind. Even though Quibi failed, the marketing spectacle itself is now part of the narrative of modern tech culture. People still talk about it. Business schools teach it. Analysts spin it as both a cautionary tale and a masterclass in why hype can sometimes be more memorable than the product itself. In the end, Quibi didn't just fail. It became legendary for the very reasons it failed. That's how powerful modern marketing can be. So here's the big question I want you to think about. Are you building something people truly want, or are you relying on hype to make them think they want it? Because in a world where attention is currency, marketing can convince people of almost anything until reality undermines the illusion. If you focus only on the story without substance behind it, you may end up like Quibi, remembered not for what you built, but for how brightly the lights burned before the curtain fell. Now, it's your turn. Which recent product or campaign do you think spent big on marketing but didn't deliver? Drop it in the comments. Let's get a conversation going about real-world examples of hype versus reality. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, share it with someone who loves business stories that actually make you think. Stay sharp and see you in the next deep dive.